ladies and gentlemen, how y'all doing? Scotty D49 here with you once again for another installment in the series of how to play Warhammer 40,000. Now, as you know, in this series we'll be covering off the different ways you can play the game, how to go about constructing the army list and what's involved in the entirety of it, as well as the core mechanics of the game. And today is no different. We're continuing on going through the phases of the game, and we're going to be covering the psychic phase. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to catch more of this style of content, make sure to hit that subscription button down below so that you're able to be notified when I'm posting this style of content, as well as the variety of other forms of content that I do post here on YouTube. We are not far off that 100 subscribers either. I believe last time I checked, as of recording, we're about 18 off, which is phenomenal. It would be absolutely awesome to be able to hit that 100 this year. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's jump into it. Alrighty, so as I have said, I'm going to be talking about the psychic phase today. Now, it does comprise of several different steps. The first step is the psychic powers in themselves. Then you've got psychic tests, deny the witch, and then resolving the psychic powers. Now, these are all integral parts of the psychic phase, and I'm going to give a general overview of all of the components, and many of these factors will differ depending on the powers you're looking to cast. So, we're going to jump into psychic powers. Now, every unit that can be taken that has the psychic keyword will have a specific number of powers that they're able to take from a chosen discipline in their codex, as well as specifying how many they can actually manifest in a single phase, or attempt to manifest in a single phase, I should say. There are three general forms of psychic powers. There's blessings, which will generally target friendly units and give them some sort of benefit. There are maledictions, which will target an enemy unit and give them a disadvantage of some form. And then there are witchfires, which target enemy units once again. However, these are psychic powers will deal damage to them instead of a disadvantage. Now, in addition to the selected powers that a Psyker has, every Psyker in the game of Warhammer 40,000 also knows the Smite psychic power that is in the core rulebook. Now, you can only attempt to manifest the same psychic power across the army once per battle round. So even if you take it on multiple Psykers, you can only attempt it once, with the exception here being Smite. Now, Smite is quite unique. They did bring in a change to it where every cast after the first cast, you have to pass a higher level of psychic tests for that, of a warp charge value, which we'll get into now. So psychic tests. So these are what you use to determine whether you successfully manifest a power or not in the psychic phase. Now, once you've chosen the psychic power from the Psyker you're wanting to use it from, you'll need to make a psychic test. Now, what a psychic test is, it's a simple 2d6 roll that needs to equal or exceed the warp charge value of the power to be able to potentially successfully manifest it. Now, take for example Smite, its base warp charge value is 5. So on that 2d6 roll, you need to be able to get that 5 or higher to be able to successfully cast it for the first time. However, if it's the second or the third time, then you're going to need to get a 6 or a 7, depending on how many times you've already cast Smite that phase. However, as with psychic powers and interacting with the warp, there is risk involved for everybody, because that is where the demonic powers in the Warhammer 40k universe dwell. It's where the demons spill out of the Eye of Terror as well, and all across the universe currently as well. If you roll a double 1 or a double 6 on your psychic test, the Psyker casting the power suffers what's known as a Perils of the Warp result. Now, when a Perils in the Warp occurs, the Psyker who is casting the power that suffers it will suffer D3 mortal wounds. However, if because of these mortal wounds the Psyker is killed and destroyed, he is effectively going to blow up out of a psychic synaptic reaction, causing every unit within 6 inches to also suffer D3 mortal wounds. So it's really something to be careful of when you're looking to cast psychic powers. I know I've mentioned mortal wounds here, and it's the first time I'm talking about mortal wounds. However, I won't be covering what that is in this video. I'll, however, be covering it further in the next video where I'll be covering the shooting phase. So stay tuned and watch out for that episode in this series so you can see what mortal wounds are all about. And then you can refer back to this video and see what they mean. Now, Deny the Witch is the next step in the process. So if you have successfully manifested a psychic power with a Psyker and your opponent has one of their own Psykers within 24 inches of your Psyker, their Psyker can attempt to cast a Deny the Witch test, which is pretty much trying to stop you from casting your psychic power. So it's kind of like a battle of wills, if you were. Now, what a Deny the Witch test is, it's pretty straightforward. It's the exact same as a psychic test. You've got to make that 2d6 roll. However, the difference is you actually have to exceed the successful psychic test roll to be able to stop it. And if you unfortunately do not exceed the warp charge value that they rolled to cast that power, then the power still goes off. And there can only be one Deny the Witch attempt made for each psychic powers that is cast. The Psykers on their data sheets will tell you how many times they can also Deny the Witch, in addition to how many times they can cast in a turn as well. Now, once you have successfully manifested your psychic power without it being denied by your opponent, if they're able to, all you got to do then is just follow the directions on the psychic power themselves as to who you target, whether they're in range, and the effect of the power. Now, generally, you're going to measure and know who you're wanting to target with the power before you even cast it. And that's just a general bit of practice to go, all right, I'm going to cast this psychic power, but I know I'm going to put it on that unit, they're going to get that benefit. Or I know I'm going to shoot that unit with some psychic witchfire attacks and hopefully do some damage there. It's just kind of one of those things now. The pre-measuring is in the game and has been for a couple of editions now, that you're able to plan a bit ahead and know what's in range and what you're able to do before making any actions at all. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty short and pretty sweet when it comes to the psychic phase. It's really straightforward. Now, some armies will have access to no psykers at all. Some armies will be so psychically focused that it's an integral part of their army, like Grey Knights or Thousand Suns, which is super important to understand. But it's also important to know how the phase works, so that if you do have one or two Psykers of your own, you're actually able to interact and try and stop your opponent, as well as knowing what's going on in general, so you can follow what your opponent's doing. Now, I do hope that I've been clear and given you a clear explanation of the psychic phase and how to go through everything when using psychic powers and Psykers. If you do have any questions at all, please feel free to ask me in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to do my best to answer them and explain even further to answer your question. Or if you don't want to ask down in the comment section below, feel free to come and find me over on Twitch when I'm live on Tuesday and Friday nights and Saturdays during the day. I am based in the Australian Eastern Coast, so feel free to look up that time zone, see if you can drop by in the stream, and feel free to ask me then. And if not, then I do have a Discord server with over 110 members in there now, which is phenomenal. And we're from all over the globe, so no matter what time zone you're in, you can post up your question asking that, and someone will be able to help you out in the Discord, which is absolutely awesome. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to catch you in the next one.